right, it's 6 o'clock, time to rock. Thank you for tuning in to GenesisRadio.com. My name is Kendall, and this is the Empowerment Show, also a part of Unity and Community. Today, again, I got my brother here, Brother Yates, Ronald Yates. He has his own show, Reasons for Reasons, but eventually, him and we're going to sit down and we're going to chop it up a lot about politics. We're going to let people know about what's going on, and actually, we need to let people know about what's going on locally. I know there's a lot of things going on in politics right now at the top, but we need to concentrate more on what's going on at this level. Who we going to put into office? Because you got to remember that politics is a way of distributing resources. So we need to know how our resources are going to be distributed here for our community. Black, white, whomever, we all live here in the same melting pot, so we're all going to suffer the same consequences if there's going to be one. So, Ron, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. We were talking a minute ago about the cabinet.
Yes.
Yeah, my man's got he's got a big cabinet in there, the good old boy cabinet.
Well, what he's got is a collection of yes men.
Yeah.
Because in his last administration, there were people within the administration like General Milley, like General McMaster, who held him back from some of his, wildest impulses.
Right.
So I guess now he's ensuring that if there's something that he gets in his head he wants to do, that there's not going to be anybody to sort of reel him in. And there's really nobody, if you think about it. The Supreme Court is stacked with his appointees. The Republicans took both houses of Congress. So they're basically going to rubber stamp whatever
the DOJ
he will have control of. So basically, Trump will have control of both houses of Congress, have control of the Supreme Court, and state legislatures as well. So, there's not going to be much in the way of stopping him.
Yeah, we've heard all week this man plans on doing so many things. Mass deportation. He wants to close up the Environmental Protection Agency. He wants to shut down the Board of Education. Now, how is that going to affect us on this level? If in other words, if you shut down the Board of Education, let's just per se.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, public school,
mm-hmm.
and when we mean shut down the Board of the Education, he's talking about funding. So.
Well, he wanted to close the Department of Education, right, on the national level. And he also talked about drastically cutting funding to the various local schools, public schools. Private schools will get additional funding because I guess what he wants to do is he wants to, put more money into private education while drawing money away from public education.
So what, we're going to have to get vouchers for our kids if they're going to want to go to school? That's kind of what it sounds like a voucher system.
Basically what he's saying is private schools, if you can't afford to pay for private school, your kids ain't guaranteed to get a good education.
Or to get any education.
Basically, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, because you take away funding. That also, what does that entail?
And he also
Scholarship
said that
programs?
Any school, state school board or school district that does not teach what they say you should teach will not be funded.
Yeah. Well, when does it
come
down?
So if anything, if you teach about slavery,
right,
or anything like that, you're not getting funded.
So when does it come down to states' rights?
Well,
what's that?
Well, I mean, if you're going to take it and you're going to put into the hands of the state, then it should be up to the states to decide what education.
And he said those states will not get funding for education.
The way the Constitution is written, the power is supposed to lie between Congress and the several states, right? But what's happening is Trump now, even before he was elected, he said, I have extreme power, right? What does that mean, extreme power?
He wants to be king.
Exactly. And there's nobody to stop him. He has the pieces in place. If you go back to what they call the insurrection, clearly this was an attack on, democracy, and the government, right? His own government. And despite that, the Supreme Court says, well, basically, pretty much anything he did while he was in office, he's immune from prosecution.
Well, the Supreme Court made him a king. They already said you can be king.
Right.
Well, he put his people in there, so that was going to take place anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But what can we do at this level? Is what I mean. I mean, there's nothing that we can do about what's going on in the government.
Right.
And by the time January gets here, we'll start to see some of the effects about what's going to take place.
Right.
And here at this level, what can we do to safeguard, protect ourselves, or anything?
I think
stay low and keep firing.
Yeah,
that's a good talking point.
Yeah,
but in reality,
I think
we
that
need to do? Do we need to invest more money, or what is it? Do we need to I don't know, maybe better educate ourselves? Maybe this will also give us an opportunity to unify ourselves as a people.
We're not going to have a choice. Right?
Yeah.
Because nobody is certain what's going to happen when he takes control of the Oval Office.
Right.
A lot of stuff that he said he was going to do, like dismantling the Department of Education, like a lot of the
mass deportation,
some of the things that are outlined in Project 2025,
mm-hmm.
right? If you notice, there are a lot of people like the ACLU. They're trying to raise funds right now in preparation for when he takes office, right? They want to be able to mount legal defenses because they know something is coming. They know that when this man gets in there, that there's not going to be much that's going to stop him. If you go to the Supreme Court, if you go to the local courts, a lot of those were appointed by Trump.
And that's going to be one ear out the other.
Right. And if you don't get legal redress there, and you want to send it up the chain to the Supreme Court, well, the Supreme Court is stacked also with Trump appointees. So basically, for people in this country, regardless of your skin tone, we're behind in terms of organizing,
mm-hmm.
right? We should have been organizing and planning any eventuality. If he won, this is what we're going to do. So now we have a situation where he's in there, and we're trying to scramble to figure out what to do now. I think the thing to do as an individual is to, make sure you have plenty of food and water in your home.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's going to get down to survival tactics like that. I hope it doesn't get to that point.
Stay low, keep firing.
This guy. But if it, I really hope it doesn't get to that point.
I'm sure it will.
Oh, I hope not.
Well, let's think about it. So,
you're talking about like lynch mob situations.
I'm talking about civil war, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, in the case of people like, say, the host of MSNBC, Joe Scarborough.
Right.
So, Trump said some time ago, I think during his first administration, that he wanted certain news networks taken off the air.
Mm-hmm.
Trump has targeted his political opponents. Okay, so now if you're one of Trump's political opponents and he's changing the laws, basically eradicating the law or the protection that would protect you from the government, and you've tried every legal channel that is available to you, including the Supreme Court, and you're not getting any results, well, then what do you have to do?
And I thought a lot of these guys who own these big networks were Trump supporters, like CNN, MSNBC.
No,
that they actually were Trump supporters. It seems like it because when you
listen, they are not Trump supporters at all.
Not at all.
No.
It just seems that way because, like, when I listened to the news back when Kamala Harris was running, it just seems that they criticized her and they were on her more than anything.
Not MSNBC. MSNBC was pro Kamala Harris. They did not want Trump in there, right?
And neither did CNN.
Nope,
but the new head of CNN said that you had to have a balanced commentation. So
they may end up losing their license now. I heard that's what Trump wants to do. He wants to
pull the FCC license.
Wants to pull their FCC license. Pull the rug from up under them.
Well, you know what? Somebody's gonna pull the rug from underneath him.
Well, The views that are expressed by this radio station.
Listen,
Okay.
we already played the disclaimer.
Well, right on. So, I don't wish anybody any harm, anyone, even Trump. I just don't want him to be in the position that he's in, where he has the ability to wield power, and have his cronies and everyone else have that ability to wield power. Again, if you like what conversation that's going on, you can give us a call at 888-304-4401, genesisradio.com. That is 888-304-4401. Again, I really don't like the way things turned out as far as the election concerned, but my main concerns is, where do we go from here? What do we do from here?
I think that you have to be prepared for pretty much any eventuality. I think it's important to stock food and water in your home. I think maybe you should have candles. If you have a backup generator, right, make sure that's fueled up, or if it works on gas, make sure you have an ample supply of propane. Some might say have a go bag pack.
Sounds like
right?
a survivalist.
Well, it is.
I swear,
right?
It sounds like when I was back in the military,
like
we had that go bag.
Well, think about it like this. I guess maybe 5-6 years ago, we had a major snowstorm, right?
Right.
And 80 was shut down. So most of our food deliveries are coming on Route 80. If Route 80 is shut down for, say, a week, 2 weeks, how the store's going to get stocked?
It's going to be devastating.
Right. So, if just trucks or weather can create those conditions, imagine what happens when you have chaos in the streets. And, it's almost unavoidable, right? You saw what happened on January 6th, right?
Yeah.
He said he's going to pardon those people and put them back out on the street. That is his army.
Probably going to give them jobs.
Well, that is his army, right? So you put these people back out on the street, and now you say things like, "Oh, they're eating the cats and dogs." Now, in that part of Ohio, Springfield, Ohio, people went and armed themselves.
Oh yeah, they certainly did.
Called them bomb threats.
Yeah.
Right. So if people are going to do that based on something that is completely without merit, what do they do when Trump says, "This is my enemy"? And he's been saying it all along. He's not subtle about it.
It doesn't surprise me, because this country's kind of been like that since witch hunt days.
Right.
All you got to do is call lynch mob. Lynch mob doesn't see anything. Lynch mob just goes after you're the enemy, and they'll go and attack the enemy. They don't see anything else.
And that's why it's going to be vitally important that you have food and water in your house, so you don't have to come out and be part of the madness, right? Because again, it's almost predestined to happen, right? This country has, for the last 250 some years, this country has been kind of a preserved place, right? A lot of the wars and things like that didn't happen on our shores. We took the wars over there, with the exception of the Civil War and like the War of 1812, stuff like that.
And Spanish American War.
Right. But then you had what looked like a war in some sense, the insurrection, what they call the insurrection, right? Okay, so now we're at a time when you have half the country, or maybe half the country, that supports Trump in anything he wants to do. So if he wants to change the basic structure of the Constitution, how many people are going to go against him?
Well, like I said, and as we said, he's got Congress in his back pocket.
Right.
He's got all the players. If you're playing chess, he has all the players on the board ready to make the move.
Right.
So it's really going to be no stopping him on that level.
Well, the thing is, the military, how will they respond, right? Will soldiers kill other Americans?
Well, this is what we said when I was in the Army.
Right.
You don't have to obey an unlawful order.
You don't.
You do not.
Right.
So if I feel me killing another American on American soil is unlawful, I don't have to obey that.
You don't have to.
But now here it is. How many soldiers are Trump supporters?
Now that's the problem, right? You might have a divided military. So you might have people in the same unit fighting against each other.
Mhm.
So you have to keep in mind that everywhere Trump has gone, there has been chaos.
Of course.
Right? And when he gets back into the White House, you have to be aware that there is going to be chaos. The man said it. He said, I'm going to be a dictator on day one.
Mhm.
He said, I'm going after certain people. I have every right to go after them. He's not joking. He's going to do this. He talked about, shutting down the Department of Education. He's already putting people in place to do just that.
The EPA.
Well,
He wants
Trump,
to give that power to the Supreme Court.
and they have already been voting down a lot of the legislation to strengthen EPA. The Supreme Court has voted down. Why? Trump got $1 billion from the oil industry.
Yeah.
They want to drill in the Arctic.
Yeah.
We have a lot of preserved land up there, right? Wildlife.
Especially up in
Alaska.
In Alaska.
Right? Unspoiled territory.
That's right.
But there's oil up there. So Trump is like, he said it, drill, baby, drill. So he has zero respect for nature.
None.
Right?
Well, none of them do. They only
It's all
respect
about
one.
money.
They respect what. That's right. That's
Right.
what I wanted to say. They respect one. What does money want? More money.
Right.
What does power want? More power.
Mhm.
They don't give a damn about anybody else.
No.
They don't care about the little minions, as they would call us.
Mhm.
But matter of fact, what they do, they devise a system to have me against you.
Right.
And this way now we cause chaos and confusion between you and I, and we're not watching anything that they do. Matter of fact, because of that Stockholm syndrome, we half of us believe the nonsense that they spew out.
Well, you just said it, and that's exactly where we're headed, right? We already have Americans at each other's throats, right? Typically after an election, a day or so after, you're over the initial shock, right? But this election is very, very different. You find people now who are planning how to defend themselves through legal channels. Some people right now may be stockpiling weapons and ammunition, right?
Let me tell you. So I'm not really that much with guns. I've been around all my life, of course, military the whole nine. I mean, we had our time with that. But I told my wife, you leave this house, you have that firearm on you. And I told her, I don't care what. I'd rather go visit you in the jail cell. You pull that trigger.
Right.
It comes down to it. I don't care how scared you are. None of that. You just pull that trigger.
Defend yourself.
That's right. You make sure you defend yourself.
And
from what I understand or what I've been hearing, is that black women are in a problem. They're gonna have problems.
Well, look, I'm gonna tell you.
All women are gonna have problems.
No, black women specifically.
When I went to vote, I left my house early in the morning to try to get there before the crowds. I was out there, probably around 6:15. It looked like it might have been 1,000 people out there to vote. So I left, but across the street was 3 pickup trucks waving their flags, and they had one dude sitting in the back of his pickup truck across the street from the polling point, and he had his legal AR-15 on his back, and the police was across the street, said they couldn't do anything.
They can't.
You know what I mean? So you know what? I had my 9 and my 40 caliber in my car because I said I'm going to defend myself.
Hey,
if I have to, because that was clearly intimidation.
Yeah. In 2020, Claudette Williams ran for office, and she asked me to get together a group of guys who will go and provide security for her.
A lot of people, I'm sorry, brother, they didn't want to do that to you. They hate to cut you off. A lot of people don't know about Claudette Williams. So I think maybe we better give just a little smidget about who Claudette Williams is. And she's a veteran, by the way.
30 years service.
Okay? And she ain't no joke.
Sergeant Major. Okay? One of the few black female sergeant majors in the Army.
That's right.
And served overseas in Iraq and some other theater of war as well. Long history of service to this country. And she has been active in politics in this area for probably the past 20 years. And in her last run for office, she asked me to get a group of guys together to provide security. and she had went from one location to another, just monitoring the polls. And she called me, and you could hear somebody attempting to intimidate her. So we all jumped in the car and went over there. And I'll tell you, we were loaded for bear. I had an AR-15, a shotgun, and 2 pistols on me, and a bulletproof vest. So, my thing was, we weren't looking to hurt anybody, but we were going to inflict a lot of hurt if we had to. And I think that's the mindset you have to have. You want to stay away from the fray, but if it comes to you, be prepared to defend yourself.
Well, I think a lot of us need to go back to being a little more monolithic, coming together, because we have to remember we're not the majority in this country.
We are.
As far as numbers are concerned.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
African Americans.
Well, I'm talking about. Here's the thing, right?
I'm not just talking about people with melanin.
Well, everybody.
I'm talking about African Americans.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Everybody has melanin. Caucasian people produce a different type. They produce pheomelanin, we produce EU melanin.
Okay.
Right. So if with them, and it's what you're saying about all of us sticking together, right? Trump is going to force us to do that, right? Because for years, we just did not listen to our leadership. Malcolm X came along, Marcus Garvey came along, and all of them said the same thing. You've got to do for self. You cannot rely on the same man that enslaved you, that says you're 3/5 of a human being, to treat you fairly and on an equal basis. It's not going to happen. And here we are, 2025, and it's still not happening, right? It's not going to happen, right? We're dealing with a people whose mindset is, I am superior. But not because I'm smarter, faster.
My thought of that is that I look in the mirror and I say, what the hell are we doing for each other?
Right.
Like I look in the mirror and I look right there and say, what are you doing for Black people?
Right.
Instead of me asking other people, what are you going to do for Black people?
Let me give you a little ditty. How things work. Rudy Giuliani thought he was being real harsh to minorities when he decided that he was going to take away that crutch of welfare, right? Remember that? He took away the crutch of welfare, and that was the best thing he could ever do for Black people in New York City, because he forced their hand to get their act together. He took away the crutch, and they began to walk.
Well, this is
the same thing with Trump. Trump is going to do the same thing.
Well,
he's going to apply the pressure, and he's going to force me and you to be on one accord.
I got you.
See, like how you feel Black people don't do shit for each other.
That I can say.
He's going to force me and you to look at each other and say, "You're my brother," in spite of how you feel.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going to show you that Black people can work together.
Right.
We're going to be forced to work together.
Well, I just want to make a statement.
We're going to be forced to build and not destroy.
Just about the Giuliani statement is that when he did do that, the majority of people that got hurt were white women, not Black people.
Well, like I said,
because the majority of people that were on welfare were white people
around the country. That's the way it is.
Okay.
But what I'm telling you, his focus was to hurt the minority.
Right.
But all he did was empower the minority, because now those people, who are the most educated people in America right now? The Black woman.
Black woman. I was going to let you know that.
Who he said held down. He called them welfare moms, welfare
queens.
Welfare queens.
That was the term.
That's what he used. He called welfare queens. Look, in that short span of time, they turned it around, and they are now just in New York City alone. If you look at the number of educated Black women in New York City alone, college graduates outnumber those roles of the welfare queens. So some of those welfare queens are now called doctor. You understand what I'm saying? So taking away the crutch was beneficial.
Yeah, but
so don't put people back against the wall.
It was a stereotype too that was labeled onto Black women, because
it doesn't matter.
Like I knew Black women at the time.
He regrets it. Who
to
this day
who was going to college, who was already doing things for themselves. They were already very motivated.
It just wasn't enough of them, man.
Well, not enough that you can see. Not enough that was seen.
Sometimes you have to take away the crutch.
Because they
sometimes
always
you have to burn the house down.
The 5% of us are the ones that always get seen. So when they look for something negative, they don't look for the 100% of us. All they need is that 1 or 2%, and then say all of us are that way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, right? So he talked about mass deportation,
right.
So how do you determine
And we
who gets
family.
deported?
We family. We're gonna end up being deported.
Think about it. How do you determine who gets deported?
Well, go back to the movie 12 Years a Slave. What happened to him?
Yeah.
Now, right now, right? You know, I have a driver's license. He has a driver's license. You have one, right? What happens if immigration comes to you and says you need to produce ID right now?
And it need to be real ID.
What if you don't have your wallet on you?
You screwed.
Right.
Because you can say I'm American all you want. Doesn't matter. It's that lynch mob mentality, man. They shoot first, ask questions later.
That's what I'm saying.
So they'll come and lock you up, tow you away. You'll be sitting in some jail somewhere until you can prove that you're an American.
Right? But you know something? If you go back to 9/11,
right,
the Patriot Act came out. One of the things they can do under the Patriot Act is extraordinary rendition. So they can send you to Turkey and say, you can't come back to the United States.
That's right.
Now, Trump knows this. If you don't know it, people in those gargoyles that he is appointing, they know it. Now, he said his political opponents, right? Well, what are black folks? Are we big supporters of Trump?
Well,
have we ever been?
Did
Trump want to rent us apartments in his buildings?
He didn't want to rent my mother an apartment, but you do have those African Americans out there that, you know, kind of drank the Kool-Aid and they voted for Trump. A good majority of African Americans, unfortunately,
first of all,
voted for Trump.
They weren't. Most of them wasn't African American. Most of them who voted for Trump are the people who are in danger of being deported.
Idiots,
because they didn't know any better. Those same Haitians that he said were eating the cats and the dogs voted for him. You know what I mean? The same ones that came from the Caribbean, you know, who
I didn't mean to say idiots. I mean
he's
more
he's more willing. You speak with an accent. You're not from here. You are in danger of being deported.
And there's a lot of them like that.
And
I heard he wants to do the whole family. So if the kid is born here, he's legal. But if the parents are not born here, we're not going to separate the family.
Well, when you say legal, right? According to, I believe it's the 14th Amendment, right? That took freed Africans and made them U.S. citizens. But that's the Constitution. If Trump is now the king, the Constitution means nothing. Trump decides who comes.
Well, how about if you're naturally born?
Doesn't matter. What difference does it make?
Look, man. Listen, he might wake up one day and say, that Gynesis Radio, shut them down.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he'll have the power to do that, but I mean, he's the president. He can do that anyway. Wave of a wand if he wanted to, you know.
And it will become a pirate radio station.
And that is the reason why there will be people killing each other in the streets.
Yeah.
Because you will not have a choice, right? His political opponents, it would be foolish of them to sit back and do nothing, knowing that he's coming for them. You know, I just saw today Jack Smith, the prosecutor in D.C., he's resigning.
He probably moving
he's
to Canada.
Getting the hell out of D.C.
He probably moving to Canada
before Trump takes over.
Of course, because he knows. After him.
So
and those 34 counts are probably going to disappear too.
They can't. He can pardon himself federally, but these are state charges. You can't get rid of the state charges, right? But all those in his entourage, like the people who went into the Capitol, he can stroke of a pen, you know, just get rid of all that.
He said he was going to do that anyway. So,
but what happens to these people? They're just going to go back. Now they owe Trump, right? Trump said, "I'm going to get you out of jail." Now you out of jail. Now you're part of the army.
Oh, he'll take care of him. He'll take care of him,
right.
I guess. You know, I imagine he will take care of him.
Right. These are violent people.
Do you know where our local people are right now? Like Tara Probst and Maureen Madden, how are they making out?
You know, I guess they're trying to figure out, like all of us, what's going to happen. You know, because you got to figure, as a woman, Yeah, special considerations.
Mm-hmm.
Like here in the Northeast, right? Abortion hasn't been outlawed in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. But if Trump is in now, once he takes office, what's to stop him from signing a national abortion?
Well, he
ban?
did. He did say, "I'm going to leave that up to the state." Right.
He said that.
The one
He
thing
said
the one thing I noticed about Trump, he may say a lot of things, and when he lies, he lies. But generally, when he says he's going to do something,
He's not lying.
He sticks to it.
He's not lying.
So when he said, I'm giving that up to the state. I
Right.
believe him. He'll leave it at the state. The state will be bothered with it.
I'm gonna tell you one thing that my daddy always told me:
Mm.
a fool is a fool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you know he's a fool. Don't you be a fool.
I'm not gonna be.
You know
the
the next time he tell the truth will be the first time he tell the truth.
Wow.
And I'm gonna tell you something that has rung in my head for a long time. I remember as a kid, you know, I went to the Emotion Center. Ron, you remember the Emotion Center,
Mhm.
right? They taught us a song. You know, I mean, it was a Muslim-based thing. You know, it was part of the Black Panther movement. You know, they started the free lunch and all that other stuff like that, right? And they taught us a song that said the revolution has come.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You remember that song? The revolution has
Black
come.
Panthers,
It's time to pick up the guns.
Mhm.
No more brothers in jail. Sisters gonna catch hell. You know, like you remember that song, right?
Oh, yeah.
They taught us that as little kids, right? Let me tell you something. The revolution has come, bro. It's here. It might be 50 years later, but it's here. Just like that book.
Soldiers, though.
Just like that book, the 50-year plan. Everything that was in that book, the 50-year plan, is there. We do got soldiers. They just don't know they're soldiers.
Yeah. Oh, they don't know they're soldiers.
They just don't know they're soldiers yet because guess what? Because they sleeping with their eyes open. That's why. Because they sleeping with their eyes open.
But I'll tell you something, right? These young black men, young black women, they're not afraid of anything. They're not afraid of jail. They're not afraid of death. It's hard to intimidate somebody who ain't afraid of a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we do have soldiers, right? Right now, their anger and frustration is directed toward the wrong people. What happens if it gets redirected, right? Yeah, you have a lot of young men, period, who were gang members who went in the army to learn military tactics. So it's not that there's no protection available to certain groups in this country, because there is, right? And we may have to call on that at some point.
Let me drop this on you too, right?
All right.
The difference between a northern black man and a southern black man in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've traveled all over the world, and I've traveled all over this country, right? When I go south, right, they give me a pass. You know why they give me a pass? They hear my accent, they see my attitude. They say, we're gonna give this Negro a pass because he's just visiting. But them Negroes over there, they know better, right? So they don't try me. Because they know he's only gonna be here for a week or a long weekend, and then that Negro's going back up north. He's taking his uppity ass back up north, right? So they know the difference, as opposed to the brothers and sisters that live in the South. They still, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, right? We come down there, we looking them in their face. Like, I'm not scared of you. I'm gonna get low and keep firing. You know what I'm saying? Whereas down there, the brothers and sisters will go get their guns and point them at each other, but not at them. We come from a different mindset. You understand what I'm saying? So in light of the current situation, right, we're going to be forced to get on one accord. We're gonna be forced to be on one accord.
Oh, that like I said, that would be nice if something like that would happen.
It's going to happen.
Come together.
It's no choice.
We'll see.
Well,
that's what I can say.
Kendall, you have such an anti-black spirit, man.
No, I don't. I'm very black,
Listen. You can't serve two masters, bro.
I'm more of a realist than anything, and I'm talking about. Look, during the '60s, we were more of one mind. When we became this integrated, we lost that.
It's coming around,
and we lost it so much to where a good majority just left our neighborhoods. We went and wanted to go do something else, and then we go through a time period where now the woman is starting to rise up. So then we got more confusion in the family. We got so much breakup and so dysfunction within our families. It's going to be so difficult for us to come together.
But that's where we come in at.
Well,
You know what I'm saying? Because
I agree.
I'm gonna tell you. See, we are conscious men, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And see, we have to put aside our ego, right, and make decisions that's based for the betterment of us.
Here's a good one for you. What did I ask you to talk to you about doing?
This show in politics.
And a mentorship program.
Yes. Yeah. And I told you that there's one already started.
Yeah, but I didn't want to be a part of any other program, any other organization. It was yourself, myself, a man, another brother, very, very intelligent brother, that I wanted us to come together because we're right here and start something right here, right now, as to say, where we can mentor our own. So yeah, I'm very pro-Black. It's not that I'm not pro-Black, but I'm also a realist too. Because it's the same kid that I wanted to help stuck a gun up in my face and said, I'm gonna take your money.
Right.
So what do I do about this kid? How do I address this young man to try to help him out? Now I go around to a lot of young Black men and women all the time, and we constantly have these conversations about what do you think your future is gonna look like?
Well, you know something? A mouse is a very timid animal. A mouse, you turn on a light, that mouse is gonna scurry away. But if you put that mouse in a corner and there's no avenue of escape, that mouse will fight the hell out of you.
Of course.
So if you take people that look like you and I and you back them in a corner, there's no choice. There's no place to run.
There's nowhere to go. Where you going?
You in that corner, right? There's no place to go. So think about this. He said rounding people up, right? You ever notice if you travel along the major highways, Interstate 80, 380, 940, what do you see? You see these big buildings out that they keep putting up?
Yeah.
The one on 940, there's nothing in there.
It's going to be a holding pen, a holding cell.
Thank you.
It's going to be,
and they're all next to major highways, right?
That's right.
About 20 years ago, there was a major protest in New York. It was a trial run. You know the deal with them people? They sucked them in an old bus depot.
Yep.
Just to see how that worked. Now you see these buildings popping up everywhere. Trump is not playing, right? When he said, I'm going after people, he's not joking. So we're going to be the people, some of the people that he's going to go after. Trump has no love for us.
None whatsoever.
Right? Well, so it's like that mouse back to that corner.
But I like to play that devil's advocate. Like I said, a lot of us are brainwashed, and we're going to go ahead and go along with Trump. We're going to get on the Trump train.
Right.
But just like back in slavery, you had your field slave, and we were ready to fight and so forth. But them brothers that was in the house, they was down with the master.
We got to understand something, right? In a revolution, people die. And if you on the wrong side of revolution and you die, so be it, right? I'm not going to cry if Clarence Thomas gets killed.
Me neither.
This guy, Mark Robinson in North Carolina, I'm not going to shed a tear if he gets shot down.
Tim Scott.
I'm not losing no sleep over any of that, right? The reality is there's a core of us that have some degree of knowledge, right? And those are the ones that probably the universe will protect.
We hope.
The universe.
They call
God
us
always
being
leaves
woke.
a witness.
They call us woke.
God always leaves a witness to tell the story, right? So there's going to be people who are going to survive.
That I do agree with.
Right. There's going to be people who's going to survive, right? But you got to understand something. We talk about...
And we're the ones that are telling the story of our ancestors. We're the ones that have survived to be able to tell this story.
Right.
To tell what went on in the past, to tell what's going on. But there's also this wall that you got to fight because they're banning books. They're telling our children that they don't need to be educated. They're putting out there, you don't need to go to college.
And look here, they've been telling us that forever.
Nah, back in the 60s,
you don't need to be a doctor, a lawyer. You need to be a mechanic.
I just remember back in the 60s and 70s, it was a big push for us to be educated because those people were coming out of the 50s. And if you notice, a lot of people during the 60s, a lot of them were very well educated.
Like I said, Emotion Center was the Black Panthers created a movement in the 60s that ran through practically to the 80s.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? But let me take this. Let me say something about us as a people. And everybody in this room have had this experience somewhere. You know what I mean? You've traveled somewhere far and wide where there's very few of us. the moment you see one of us, what do? We
You
seek each
gravitate.
other. We seek each other out.
Absolutely.
We are going to cover each other. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to bring us together. That right there, that's in our DNA. Because guess what? Even the Indian guy at the Dunkin' Donuts or the gas station, right? When the shit get thick, you know what he says?
He's in the crosshairs.
He says, "You're my brother." That's when we become their brother.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they recognize that they're African. My brother. You know, you're my brother. I've had that experience many times and my travels every day. You know what I'm saying? When the shit hit the fan, they're gonna stand up with us because they say, "You my brother."
And you know, I'll tell you something, right? When you talk about education, Bob Marley said you don't need college for knowledge. And I get it. You know, they want you to go to college, but what happens when you leave college? You end up going on to higher things, so you believe. You know, I'm going to make money for corporations that are robbing Africa of its resources. You build America's wealth, but what happens to the vast majority of us that end together?
And when we don't go to college, what we end up with? We end up with people who are not critical thinkers. Because one of the things that college will do, man. We have a whole group of people that are not critical thinkers.
Think about it.
I talk to them in the streets, man.
How many years of college did Elijah Muhammad have?
I don't know.
He fourth grade.
Again, you're talking about one individual,
education.
but you're talking about a individual. I'm talking in general.
But you said college, right?
When I'm talking in general.
X, how much college?
Again, one individual.
No, you see, Elijah Muhammad built a nation. A lot of these brothers that you see talking.
Oh, and by the way, I'm not going to say. And what I'm going to say is that it's not so much they didn't go to college, but they're very well educated because they do a lot of research. They do a lot of reading. Now, you talk to the average cat out here, they're not doing that.
Well, that's okay.
They're not going to, and they're not doing any research.
That's okay.
So those type of people, as Donald Trump would call them, the poorly educated.
Right.
See, those are the people that are easily manipulated.
Well, those are the people that call cannon fodder. Right? Those are the people that are easily led astray.
This is a good show.
And those are the people that we don't need to deal with.
Let me tell you something else. Most people, what we call Caucasians in America, don't even know they're not Caucasians. Caucasians look like me and you.
In parts of Europe, yeah.
The Caucasus Mountains, what do people look like? They're black. So when you go around the world and you travel and you ask people about that, when you go outside America, white people don't consider themselves Caucasians because their understanding of a Caucasian is that they're black.
Dude, white and black is constructed, and it was constructed here. You go around the world, Africans do not consider themselves to be black. Black is a white term. You dig what I'm saying?
Not really.
Oh yeah, man. I've been around a lot of Africans, Jamaicans, and all.
They
do not consider themselves black
because they don't know. The real name of Egypt is Kemet. Kemet means land of the black.
That's right.
Ethiopia means land of the burnt black faces. So
that's right.
Yeah.
And Egypt means land of the white.
We knew we were black thousands of years ago, right? There was no stigma attached. It was not until later on when people began to rewrite history. Because, you go back into antiquity, there was no Jesus with no brown hair and white skin and blue eyes or brown eyes.
Yeah.
In fact, when Michelangelo was approached to paint the Sistine Chapel, they said, paint Jesus white. They said, we don't have any model of that. Right. All of the pictures of Jesus during that time was a black woman, a black baby, the Black Madonna,
right.
Our Lady of Czestochowa. And do you know every year thousands of people make a pilgrimage
to the Vatican,
not just to the Vatican, to Poland
with a black Jesus and a black baby Jesus.
I got you.
The Madonna.
Here's my question: How the hell is this going to help us right here, right now, today?
But here's the thing, right? Knowledge is power.
Yes,
right.
And if they want to take away knowledge, then they've taken it away.
How,
dude? I talk to children, young people. There's so much that they do not know.
Because they don't have knowledge. You have knowledge. How are they going to take it from you?
I'm going to give it to them.
They can't take it to me. Here.
But the knowledge I have was given to me.
Books and they can burn them. But if the knowledge is in your DNA, it's up here, it's in your heart, they can't take it from you.
But how am I going to translate it from me to them?
You know it.
I know it, but they need to know it.
Then you're gonna tell them. You're gonna tell them verbally. In Africa, the griot was the keeper of the knowledge of the people. Didn't write a damn thing down. Everything was transmitted verbally. So as the griot would age, he would find a young man and he would teach him all of the knowledge he acquired over the years, and he became the new griot. There was nothing written down.
Again, you know one of the things you said.
There's an African proverb that says, "When the student is ready, the teacher will appear." So if the students aren't ready, the teacher don't appear.
Yeah, but there's one thing that you also said to go along with that is that a lot of the youth today, they have no respect for the elder. So they're not. You can talk to your blue in the face. Most of them, I'm not even going to hear you.
That's all right.
They're too busy into the social media.
That's all right.
But then how do we build?
Here's the thing, right? You're not going to build with everybody. Every corporation that you go into, there's a core of people that do the work.
Right.
I don't care what profession you have. There's a core of people that do the work, and everybody else are worker bees, right? There's some people there behind the scenes that's making up the plans, submitting that to the managers, supervisors, and then it's to the rank and file, right? So if you're finding resistance from one group, the Bible says, shake the dust from your feet. Listen, I don't go to church. I don't identify as any religion. I believe in spirituality. But what I do believe in is using the Bible from a historical context. And when you talk about Trump, we're not just talking about a political figure. We're talking about a man who has an unseen power behind him. Trump in 2015 came down his golden escalator and said, "I want to be president." He never even ran for dog catcher before. And his opponent was a woman whose last name happened to be Clinton, right? Okay. He beats this woman. First, he beats all of these seasoned Republican nominees, those who are against him. He beat them all.
By insulting them.
Then, doesn't matter how, he beat them.
Yeah.
Then he beat Hillary Clinton, got into the White House. Now, he's got the Supreme Court behind him.
Right.
He's got both houses of Congress behind him. He's got state legislation behind him, right? State and local. How does that man do that if there's not some power behind him?
Oh, there's a lot of power behind him.
Now, I'm not talking, I'm not talking about money.
No, I hear what you're saying.
I'm talking about unseen forces.
Yeah, like he's a demon. I got you. But
demon?
Yeah, like he's a demon. Or the demon.
I was reading in the Bible.
Biblical.
I was reading in the Bible the other day in Revelation. They talk about three individuals: Satan, the dragon, and the beast. And what's interesting about the beast, they said the beast had a fatal wound, but he made a miraculous recovery. See, you don't have a fatal wound and recover. Fatal means dead.
That's right.
But what happens if there is a wound that under normal circumstances would have killed you? Trump said he got shot in the ear, didn't he? And then the next day, he had a Band-Aid on his ear. Miraculous recovery. You look at Trump now, he don't have a scratch on his ear.
Nothing.
And the people that
now
let me tell you about Trump, right? Trump for long periods of time wouldn't even campaign. He was on a golf course. He kept telling him, "Hey, Mr. President, you got to come and campaign." You know what he knew? No, I don't. Because I know my people. I know what's behind me, and I know my people. And I know I can easily manipulate people, millions of them. No matter what I say, they're going to vote for me. That just ain't some man.
And that's exactly what they did.
Right.
And check this out. So this is what we're going to do here. We, this brother and I, and we got the okay from the big boss up there, that we're also going to have a show. We're going to call it Politricks. Okay. We're probably going to have it on Tuesday evening around about this time. So if you guys want to know more and more about politics and what's going on, and just tune in to GenesisRadio.com. Again, my name is Kendall Stevenson. This is the Empowerment Show. We are part of Unity and Community. We really hope that you enjoyed this evening's episode, because I thought it was on, popping and banging. We had a lot of disputes, if you want to say. Not so much disputes, but we had different points of
opinion.
Different points of view. All right. So we're going to keep up this different points of view. And we're going to probably pick it up on Tuesday. Tomorrow night, Reasons for Reasons with Mr. Ronald Yates.
Please join us.
Please tune in. Again,
You want it to be hot.
The telephone number is 888-304-4401. Kendall Stevenson, my man Terry, and Mr. Ronald Yates. Peace.
Peace.
We're out.